It's time for Veterans News. So here from Vets Helping Vets is Gary. Gary, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tom, and good morning, listeners out there. It's great to be with you on this rainy morning in April. Usually June's our rainy month, but it seems like, we're getting it over with quick. But glad to be with you this morning, and we have Attorney Rick Hurley here. He's from Citrus County, but he does a lot of work in Marion County. We recommend him for cases that need help with getting their due compensation, and he's very good at it. So we appreciate him, and he'll be with you for an hour. But before we get to Attorney Rick Hurley, we do have some casualties we have to talk about. Sadly, starting with the fire service, we have Chief Engineer Jeff Williams, who's with the Lakesville Fire Department in Lakesville, Pennsylvania. His end of watch was March the 31st. We have Deputy Constable Jennifer Chavez of the Harris County Constable's Office, Precinct Number 7 in Texas. Her end of watch was April the 2nd. Deputy Constable Chavez was killed when her patrol car was struck by a drunk driver. We have Investigator Donald Crooms of the Houston County District Attorney's Office in Georgia. His end of watch was March 30th. Investigator Crooms was killed in a vehicle crash. We have Lieutenant William D. Lebo of the Lebo City Police Department in Pennsylvania. Lieutenant Lebo was shot and killed when he was responding to a domestic-related burglary. We have Deputy Sheriff Darren Alvarez with the Harris County Sheriff's Office in Texas. His end of watch was March the 31st. He was shot and killed when he interrupted some men stealing a catalytic converter. We have Police Officer Dominic Francis of the Bluffton Police Department in Ohio. His end of watch was March 31st. He was killed while struck by a vehicle while he was deploying stop spikes. And we have a very young police officer, 24 years old, Police Officer Trey Marshall Sutton of the Enrico County Police Department in Virginia. His end of watch was March the 31st. He was killed in a 3-car crash. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to this firefighter and these law enforcement folks. Tom, if we can do Amazing Grace and taps, please.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
And now back to Gary with Vets Helping Vets.
Well, I want to share with you what I share with you every week, because not a week goes by at the office when somebody don't come in and say, I didn't know this place was here. So I want to tell you, we're located at 2730 East Silver Springs Boulevard in beautiful Ocala. Our building is called the Veterans Resource Center. It houses veterans helping veterans with all our partnership agencies that's over there with us. And it also occupies the County Veterans Service Office. Our hours are Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4, and on Friday, 8 to 1. Our pantry days are Tuesday and Thursday, but if you're in emergency need of food, we will do pantry, of course, any day we were there, provided that you do come in time for a service worker, a social worker to be there so they can fill out your needed paperwork and take care of you. I announced last week that we're handling food every 30 days instead of every 60 days because the need is great. And of course, if you needed it more often than that, we would do anything we could to help you. That's what we're there for, to help veterans. And I do want to remind all the folks out there that we do operate primarily on donations. So if you'd like to send money or bring money to us, that's the thing we need most. Of course, we always need food, we always need underwear, socks, and that kind of stuff. So the only way we can operate and continue to operate is through the support of veterans like yourself. So I'm proud to leave you with Attorney Rick Hurley, but I do want to say a few things about him. I've known him for several years. He used to be before COVID, he used to be on the radio with us regular. And, we appreciate him. I know people that he has I personally know people that he has helped. He's a great guy. He loves veterans. He loves what he does. And I want to give you some quick instructions. If you're listening and you know another veteran that's needing to file a claim or is having issues with a claim or wants to know the latest about claims, call him up on the phone now. Tell him to tune in to what's our call numbers here?
WOCA 1370 AM or 96.3 FM or on YouTube at WOCA.
You get it tuned in. Listen, he's got some really good information for him. God bless him because he does so much to help veterans. He's what I call a 110%er, when it comes to, getting what folks need. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you. And Tom.
Well, actually, we're going to take a commercial break.
Okay.
And then we're going to come back from that so we can give him we don't just introduce him and then say, oh, and now we've introduced him, so we're going to break. So if you can hang on for a few minutes, we got to go to break.
And make them phone calls if you got somebody that needs to hear this.
It is Veterans News brought to you by Vets Helping Vets. We'll be right back after this short timeout.
Hello, I'm Mark Sears with Regency Printing. With over 10 years in the printing business, I know you'll find Regency Printing the place for all your local printing needs. Plus, I have fax services, mailbox rentals, notary service, U.S. mail, pack and ship, all at one convenient location, 2375 Northeast 25th Avenue. Just look for the yellow signs. Regency Printing, 789-6683. That's 789-6683. Regency Printing.
Golden Spoon Diner and Seafood Restaurant, a true New York-style diner in Ocala. Try our breakfast special of 2 eggs served with home fries or hash browns and toast for just $4.49. We have an all-you-can-eat catfish special daily for $14.99, and Thursday through Sunday we have prime rib. Happy hour for food starts at 2 p.m. The Golden Spoon Diner and Seafood Restaurant is located at 5400 Southwest College Road in the Heathbrook Commons Plaza. Open daily from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. We will see you soon.
As spring rolls in, the deals just get better this week at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens in Ocala. They're rolling out a brand new list of savings no matter where you look all over this fabulous 5-acre garden. Bob has a truly marvelous selection of spring annuals you can mix or match for less than $2 each. You get a huge flat of 18 for just $35.99. You're looking for bulbs? Bob has jumbo caladiums for just $2.99 when you buy 10 or more. There's a truckload sale on fruit. You can get 2 nice blueberries for just $14. And can you believe it? A BOGO on African iris. Yes, gorgeous African iris, regularly $9.99, but you buy one, get one free while supplies last. It's tree planting time. That means you buy one and get one at half price. at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens on Southeast 38th Street in Ocala. They're open daily till 4, Saturdays till 3, in the same blooming place since 1952.
Hey there, Congresswoman Kat Kamak here, your conservative voice in our nation's capital. I'm so proud to be an advocate for the over 65,000 veterans here in North Central Florida. The new Ocala VA clinic is now open, providing important primary care and specialty services. If you're a veteran in the Ocala area, thank you for your service. Feel free to get in touch with our team by visiting us online at camac.house.gov. I'm Kat Kamak, and it is my honor to serve you.
This ad is paid for by official funds authorized by the U.S. House of Representatives.
Dad's service to our country is something we're so proud of. He made a difference and set a great example. Now it's our turn to honor the sacrifices he made for our family and this country. As veteran specialists, Hires Baxley Funeral Service helps us celebrate Dad's life and can help you too. Hires Baxley is here for you during your time of need or when planning for the future. For more information, call 352-484-0891 or visit hiresbaxley.com/choice.
It's back. It's Vets News with the guys from Vets Helping Vets. And here's Gary.
And I want to introduce my friend and a friend to all veterans, Rick Hurley.
Hey, Gary, thanks very much. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. But before you have to head out today, I just want to tell people Vets Helping Vets in Ocala is one of the most outstanding organizations I've been affiliated with. The podcast that we have, David and I have every Monday night, we're always promoting Vets Helping Vets. And, you know, we get phone calls from all over the country on that podcast. And it's amazing that there aren't more places like Vets Helping Vets in Ocala, Florida, around the country. The people at Vets, Hank, Gary, have just done such a wonderful job building that organization. It is truly a service-oriented facility. So you veterans, you can go in there, and it's amazing how much you offer at that facility. From now, food, information about claims, information about all sorts of different things that veterans need. And veterans, that's the key. The key is getting the information, because the VA is not giving you the information that you need. You need people who are in the trenches, who are dealing with this on a day-by-day basis, to give you the information you need, so that whether it's on the health side, on the benefits side, whatever you need, you're getting the straight scoop. Unfortunately, over the 10 years that I've been representing veterans, I've noticed that vets do not get the straight scoop, and they'll tell me that when they show up. So Gary, thank you for all you guys do. And I told you it's been 10 years since I was first on the show, so it seems like, talk about time slipping away. But again, thank you for all you do.
Well, we're glad to have you. Now that you know where we're at now in this new location, don't be afraid to join us.
It's beautiful here, looking at all these jets. Take care, Gary.
You too, Rick.
So let's talk a little bit then about what you do when you help veterans. Gary had said that get to the radio and listen if you are having problems with your compensation claims or different things. Do you help people get their retirement money? Do you help people get money that maybe is owed to them, or maybe through some cancer causing things that have now been come up that we know they cause cancer, and now Army bases and military bases all over the country sometimes had these things that may have been a carcinogen? Do you do all of that? Are you specific to just one genre? What is it that Mr. Hurley does exactly to help the veterans with their compensation?
We do all of that plus more. So essentially, a veteran is entitled to benefits that were incurred during their service. So I always tell veterans when they call me up, I got a call this morning driving in, and veterans say, well, I don't know if I'm entitled to any benefits. So I like to use the old law school tort claim analogy, which is the but-for test. But for going into the service, would you have PTSD? Would you have a shoulder injury? Would you have a neck injury? a back injury, but for that service, would you have those injuries? If you say, no, I wouldn't have these injuries, you have a claim that you can file with the VA, and you're entitled to file that claim. And, military people, veterans, go into the service for so many different reasons. And so one of the reasons is also it's a way to kind of enhance your journey in life. Maybe you're coming out of high school, you don't want to go to college, you want to serve your country for whatever reason. Maybe you want to be a police officer down the road, so you're going to get some experience in the service. So you've seen a recruiter in high school, and he said, hey, look, join the Army, join the Air Force, Navy, Marines, and give 4 or 6 years. When you come out, you'll be better off. Those are all wonderful reasons to go in. But then something happens to you. You get hurt while you're there. You get exposed to an IED. You're in Iraq, Afghanistan. And now all of a sudden you come back, and civilian life isn't the way it was when you left. And now you've got some issues to deal with. I like to use the analogy of workers' compensation. Everyone out there, I'm sure, is familiar with workers' comp.
You get hurt on the job,
Hurt on the job?
job's insurance covers it.
Exactly. So if you're hurt on the job while you're serving your country, you're entitled to benefits. So using that analogy, it's an easier way for people to understand why a veteran's entitled to these benefits.
Is some of the difficulties, though, about these kind of hurt on the job benefit issues, are some of the problems with a veteran is it may not show up for years down the road? I mean, you do a slip and fall, or you get hit by a forklift accidentally, or something malfunctions and you get hurt on the job where there's an injury right then. But PTSD may not manifest itself for years. Cancer, if you're exposed to gases or destruction of buildings in Europe or in Afghanistan and all that were built with materials that we don't build with anymore here, you may not see that for 12, 15 years down the road. Does that make it exponentially more difficult to get this compensation because it's not injuries that you see right away on the job sometimes?
That's a great question. So when I'm talking to a young soldier going in today, I always tell them, make sure, in this day and age with cell phones and everything else, you can take pictures, keep a record of who you serve with. You may need that person down the road for a buddy statement. Take videos, store all this information, because down the road you may need it. No one tells you when you go into the service that you're going to incur disabilities and that you may need this information later on. I can tell you, more often than not, you're going to need that information. Our older veterans, that's the problem they run into. When you're in Iraq and Afghanistan and you're going through the desert and you hurt your knee, and there's no medic, there's no place to go run to the hospital, and you sprain that knee, maybe you torn the ACL. It's serious. What do? They give you a couple ibuprofen.
Get you patched up as best they can.
They give you some ice, say, hey, go sit down for about 2 hours. And then what are you going to do? You got to keep marching. You got to, as the veteran will say during the hearings that I have, you have to suck it up. And the military personnel have been sucking it up, going all the way back to all the wars we've ever fought in this country. So when you get into a hearing, one of the things the judge, for service connection, the judge will say, what we need is, was there an event in service that caused your disability? So if you had a knee injury or something, and you tell the judge, yeah, I was a parachutist, and I twisted my knee when I was coming down in Bosnia or Iraq, Afghanistan. I jumped over 800 times. Okay, there's your event or events. And then the next question is, was there a diagnosis or treatment? And this is where we run into the issue.
Because on the battlefield, there is no diagnosis or treatment.
Exactly. And there's no treatment.
Right.
So what I do as an attorney is try to connect those dots. And, we can maybe look at their military record, look at their civilian record, and if there's ongoing a treatment for the knee, you've seen a doctor. You put all that information together, that then forms your nexus, and that's the third element. You have to have a nexus between that medical information and what happened in service. If you get all that information together, then you have a claim. It's not as hard as it sounds. You have to persevere. The VA, I'll tell you right now, the VA 9 times out of 10 is going to deny your claim. They're going to tell you that, there's no event in service, there's no medical evidence, there's nothing there to sustain a compensation claim. Don't give up, veterans. When you get that decision, you have 1 year to file an appeal. Find yourself an attorney and go file your appeal and get your case up to what we call it's the Board of Veteran Appeals. Board of Veteran Appeals, there's 113 judges. There are 9 lawyers that work for, 9 different lawyers that work for these judges. And, or I should say, each judge has 9 lawyers. And so at that level, that's where you're going to have your success. And then they kick it back to the VA. The VA's been basically told, this veteran's entitled to service connection. You need to rate him. And then now the veteran will get a disability rating, which in turn equals some sort of payment per month. Here's the other catch. The VA now gets the case back, and let's say you had a PTSD, you're now service connected for PTSD. They send you to their expert, and their expert says, well, we'll give you 50%. Okay? I have my own experts that I use. My expert might say you're entitled to 100. Guess what? You have to appeal again. So it sounds arduous, but let me tell you something. At the end, and I've been doing this exclusively for 10 years, at the end of the day, I've gotten so many veterans up to 100%, and I'll ask them one question. Was it worth pursuing? And they look at me, almost tears in their eyes, and say, yes, it was, because my government finally affirmed the fact that I served my country, I was injured for my country, and now my country's paying the debt that they owe me.
And I bet that's a big part of it. We got to take a break in about a minute, but I bet that's a big part of it. It's not so much the compensation, it's the acknowledgement that, yes, this was not of my doing away from the job of serving my country. This injury or this happenstance happened while I was in service of my country, and my country's finally saying, we agree with you.
Absolutely.
That has to be a lot more valuable than any, and I know the money can be valuable, but that's got to be more valuable to the psyche of a military person, way more than the money.
And I've had veterans tell me that. I'm going to enjoy this retro payment of $150,000 or $200,000 in the monthly going forward, but let me tell you something. The 12 years that I fought to try to get this, and now I'm getting it, and my country's acknowledging what I did for my country, is worth a lot more than that.
It's a damn shame you go fight for your country, and then if you get injured, a lot of times you got to come back and fight your own country because of your injuries that you incurred while fighting for your country.
We've lost the idea of sacrifice. The sacrifice that these men and women have endured is lost.
We'll come back. I want to talk to you. There's something going on with water up at Camp Lejeune. I want to talk to you about that. See how that's going. We'll do that next. You're listening to Ocala Talks on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Casting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
It's time for...
And you can reach us at 866-WE-BE-BIG. You can talk about what we've been talking about.
Since 1957, we are The Source, 96.3 FM, 1370 AM.
USA Radio News with Lance Pride.
The number of alleged Russian war crimes being investigated in Ukraine now is up to 4,800, and it could go higher. The mayor of the hardest hit city says more than 5,000 civilians have been killed since Russia invaded 7 weeks ago. Mariupol is in ashes with 90% destroyed, and about 1,000 people were able to escape yesterday, but the Red Cross still hasn't been able to get in to rescue the 160,000 who remain without food, water, or electricity. The Senate is expected to vote today to confirm Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. All 50 Senate Democrats, including 2 independents and 3 Republicans, are expected to nod yes at Jackson's confirmation vote. In an effort to help Ukraine against Russian invaders, the United States Senate voted to start up the Lend-Lease program that enabled America.
Eating a diet rich in a wide variety of fruits and vegetables will give you all of the necessary nutrients your cells need to carry out their jobs. Balance of Nature provides your body with this wide range of nutrients. You don't have to worry about buying, storing, or preparing protein. Easily Eating a diet rich in a wide variety of fruits and vegetables will give you all of the necessary nutrients your cells need to carry.
You're getting ready to move and you work hard. That's why you call Two Men in a Truck, 352-289-0666. You need pros. Trained professional moving experts to do the heavy lifting for you. That's why you call Two Men in a Truck, 352-289-0666. They care about your things as much as you do, and they do it fast and right. That's why you call Two Men in a Truck, 352-289-0666. Visit twomeninatruck.com and get moving.
Two Men in a Truck.
Each morning, we wake up thankful to live in a free nation with liberty and justice for all. But sometimes those liberties can be put in jeopardy, and you may have questions about what to do or who to call. Let Doc Blanchard of Blanchard, Miriam, Adele, and Kirkland help you find the answers. Attorneys at law since 1974 and located in downtown Ocala. If you have legal issues, don't go it alone. Call 352-732-7218. Blanchard, Miriam, Adele, and Kirkland, helping protect your liberties every day.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hi, this is Becky at Hello Gorgeous Salon. It's time to get that new look started. Let's get rid of those sun-damaged ends and faded out color and get into something rich and vibrant. Humidity is not your hair's friend. It causes your hair to capture moisture and leaves it looking dry and unhealthy. Hello Gorgeous is a certified Brazilian blowout salon. We can tame those locks, leaving your hair healthy and shiny with a Brazilian smoothing treatment. So let us help you make a great first impression. Call us today to set your appointment at Hello Gorgeous. Our number is 352-351-5358. Again, that's 352-351-5358.
And don't forget, we also do men and children's cuts too. 351-5358.
Hello Gorgeous is conveniently located in the heart of downtown Ocala.
So call today and set up your appointment at Hello Gorgeous Salon at 351-5358. That's 351-5358.
Hello, gorgeous.
While we may disagree a lot, we do agree Rural King's our favorite place for spring planting.
Yeah, but we've got to focus. Roses, a couple flats of impatiens, and a spade.
A shovel? I'm thinking tiller.
We do not need a tiller.
Wait, a mower. Those new zero turns are sweet.
Focus. Roses, mulch, shovel, impatiens.
Jeez, talk about impatient.
Can I help you?
Yeah, chainsaws.
Let's go.
I'm almost done mowing this section.
Ridiculous.
Are you suffering from neck, back, or leg pain? Go Green CBD Store can help you with holistic, all-natural, lab-tested products that help with pain, stress, anxiety, inflammation, PTSD, and so much more. We stock smokable products, gummies, chocolate, coffee, tea, even pain cream. Yes, we even have treats and oils for your dogs or cats. Go Green CBD is located in the Paddock Mall in the center court. We're open every day. Come in today for a free sample. Welcome back to Vets News. We have attorney Richard Hurley in the building with us. He's talking about how vets can be compensated and how he fights for their rights to be compensated. You've said it numerous times, and I think it needs to be repeated again. It is a veteran's right to fight for that compensation.
Absolutely.
Because it's owed to them.
It's owed to them. And they're told, every year I have Buck season tickets, and around Veterans Day, they always, at the home game, they parade anywhere from 500 to 1,000 young people onto the football field. They take the oath, and I sit there and I say, I hope they're telling these young people that when you're finished, this is what we're going to do for you, because I just think that gets lost, because the costs of war. My buddy Dave Corey, who was my former law partner, we did a documentary on the cost of war. The cost of war isn't just the bullets and the uniforms and the gas to propel these tanks and stuff. cost of war starts the day you bring a veteran, a soldier onto the base, all the way up until the veteran passes away, and even then some, because you have to pay for his funeral. That's the cost of war.
It's the only group of retirees that I think get underpaid in compensation after they retire.
Absolutely.
I think all of the retirees, union and all that, probably make way more money than they should in retirement. But a veteran, I think, doesn't make near enough money as they should in retirement, because we all walk this land in freedom because of the sacrifices of the veterans.
And I have a bunch of veterans who I've gotten to 100%. And I always keep in contact with my veterans, my clients, long after I'm finished representing them, because one of the other issues that I always tell veterans that's lost on the whole process is when you pass away, if you are leaving a spouse, then your spouse is entitled to certain pensions. And it's important that veterans get service connected for all their disabilities, because that could have an impact on what the spouse could receive after the veteran has passed away.
See, that's what I wanted to bring up, because I know a little bit about the story of the Camp Lejeune water issue, and veterans that were exposed to it that could end up with cancer and everything. They're being taken care of now. But I know a little bit about Camp Lejeune. I know NAS Jacksonville. I know I was married to a woman whose dad is retired as a brigadier general in the Army. They lived on base and stuff. So families are on base too. Is there a movement now, or should there be a movement to help compensate and take care of the families of veterans who were also exposed to the poisonous water that was on Camp Lejeune?
Absolutely. There's a bill pending in the Senate. It passed the House. It's the Camp Lejeune Justice Act. And what this will do, just what you said, it will compensate the family members who were at Camp Lejeune and exposed to the toxic water, who have the similar cancers that the veteran has endured, and it will give you the opportunity to also receive the pension. Did you know that the largest rate of male breast cancer comes out of Camp Lejeune?
I did not know that.
Yeah, and many of these men did not serve. They were children. So
they just lived there. Their dad or mom was there, and so they lived there.
But just think about it. The mom breastfed, and so she's drinking the water. They're washing the clothes. They're as affected as the soldier is affected.
Certainly.
So it's very important, people. Right now, it's pending before the Senate. It passed the House, and we're not going to get into politics here, but I will say that the Democrats pretty much pushed that bill through. I forget what the numbers were, and there were a number of Republicans who did vote for it. Not as many as I would have liked. It should have been across the board unanimous. Every congressman should have voted for it, but they did not. And now it sits in the Senate. If it goes down party lines, it should pass. Hopefully, there won't be a fiscally conservative Democrat who could flip and go to the other side, and then it would fail. This bill has been pending once before, and it never made it out of the session, and it died. And it took a group of individuals to get this thing up and running again, and we're one step closer to having it passed. Let's not let this bill die again. Call your senators. Tell them that you're aware of the Camp Lejeune Justice Act, and you want your senator to pass it. In the state of Florida, call Senator Scott, Senator Rubio, and say, forget it. Forget about the party. You have to pass this for our veterans and their families. I know one senator who's a Republican. He stormed out of the Senate chambers yelling, "How are we going to pay for this legislation?" Well, all we have to do is look around and see how much waste there's been.
How much pork can we cut from, all these other bills?
Let's take care of our military families. It's about time that they benefit as well. What people don't realize, especially my former law partner, David Corey, and I, we're working on a documentary right now called PTSD and the Impact on Families, Veterans and Their Families. People don't realize that it's not just the veteran that's impacted by all of this, but it's the family members, it's the spouse, it's the children, and anyone else who's associated with that veteran, taking care of that veteran. I mean, I have some veterans who are receiving 100% right now. They're sitting in hospitals, and their wives are there every day taking care of them, because that's what you have to do, because we don't have as many nurses as we used to have. You know, now I'm trying to get aid in attendance for these wives. You can't even imagine how much of a fight it is to get the wife some aid in attendance. It's a little bit of compensation to assist in the wife's, maybe it helps pay for some gas getting back and forth to the hospital. We're not talking about a lot of money, but it's money that's due and owing these families for, again.
And it's like pulling teeth.
It's owed to them for the sacrifice. We've lost that word here. The sacrifice that these men and women gave when they were younger for their country, and some of them did 3 or 4 years, some of them stayed and retired. But they're due. It's time for us to sacrifice so we can help these people.
Now, let me ask you this question, because a lot of people get confused about this. Camp Lejeune is in North Carolina.
Yeah.
You have veterans here in Florida that may have served at Camp Lejeune.
Correct, I do.
Do then, if they're looking for compensation, is that something filed in Florida court, or is that something that you have to file in North Carolina court?
No, it's filed.
Because it's federal court, it can be filed anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, it's filed. I mean, there are class action lawsuits going on up in North Carolina, but that's different than the compensation that a veteran would receive.
So just because you live in Florida doesn't preclude you from being able to seek out that compensation if you want it.
Exactly. And, you know, what's interesting, and there were 15 cancers associated with Camp Lejeune water contamination. Those 15, the government recognized that a veteran was exposed to the water, suffers these particular cancers, and therefore should receive treatment. That was a 15. And then once the bill went through for compensation, they didn't get compensated for all 15. No, they only pulled out 7 or 8 out of the 15 and said, well, we'll compensate you for those 7 or 8, but we're not going to compensate you for the others. What's the difference? I mean, and again, that's part of what happens in Washington when all these politicians are sitting down.
That's kind of like playing Russian roulette with the veteran. I mean, we're gonna pay you for these, but we're not gonna pay you for these. So I hope you don't die from one of these, because you're not getting any money for that if you die from it.
Exactly, and it's going on right now with Agent Orange. Everybody's familiar with Agent Orange over in Vietnam, and there's some more legislation that I'm going to talk about in a second with regard to Guam and Thailand and the American Samoa. But Agent Orange started out with X amount of disabilities that you could get compensated for. Well, over the years, they've amended that. Okay, so recently, I'd say it's been about a year now, they've added Parkinsonism. They've added, let's see, I'm drawing a blank, bladder cancer. And let me talk about the bladder cancer for a second. So, the number one cause of bladder cancer is smoking. And in Vietnam, you ask these veterans, they were given a little medicine pack. And in that medicine, little container there, they had an apple, they had a sandwich, they had some other things.
Pack of smokes.
And a pack of smokes. So if you weren't a smoker before you got to Vietnam, by the time you left Vietnam, you were a smoker. So over the years, I've had these cases where the veteran was denied bladder cancer because the VA said, well, you were a smoker. That's why you've got bladder cancer, not because of Agent Orange. You got it because of bladder cancer.
Yeah, but I wasn't a smoker till I was 3 months into the jungle.
Correct. Well, now they've added bladder cancer to the list. And that's great that they've done that. But think about the probably hundreds of thousands of soldiers, veterans who've died from bladder cancer.
They got no compensation.
That got no compensation. So, you know, yes, I'm grateful that Congress is stepping up and adding certain conditions to help our veterans. But it's like you just said, it's like pulling teeth. Why do we have to keep going through this every year, every 3 or 4 years? And speaking of which, there is a bill pending, and this is H.R. 3368 will provide presumption of service connection for veterans exposed to certain herbicides while serving on Guam, American Samoa, and Johnston Island. Okay, Guam, just like Vietnam, had a huge Agent Orange issue. If you look at Guam today, there isn't a tree on the place. And any veteran who was stationed at Guam who was seeking compensation for the same injury, same disabilities that a veteran who was exposed of Agent Orange in Vietnam was trying to seek the same compensation, got denied because Guam wasn't on the list. This bill provides presumption of service connection for diseases associated with certain herbicide agents to veterans who served on Guam, American Samoa, or in the territorial waters thereof between 1962 and 1980, or Johnston Atoll, or a ship that went to Johnston Atoll between January 1st, 72 and September 77. Johnston Atoll had one of the largest storage areas of Agent Orange. Under a presumption of service connection, specific diseases diagnosed in certain veterans are presumed to have been caused by the circumstances of their military service. Healthcare benefits and disability compensation may then be awarded. Additionally, the bill expands eligibility for hospital care, medical services, and nursing home care to veterans with a disability associated with exposure to certain herbicides during specified times of military service on Guam, American Samoa, or Johnston Atoll. H.R. 5026 will grant federal benefits to veterans who served in or near the Panama Canal Zone, who were potentially exposed to deadly tactical herbicides such as Agent Orange. And finally, H.R. 2269 S657 will modify the presumption of service connection for veterans who were exposed to herbicide agents while serving in the armed forces in Thailand during the Vietnam era.
All of that is Agent Orange connected.
All that's Agent Orange connection.
So is this a bill that is coming up soon for a vote?
These are pending in Congress, and we need you to contact your members of Congress and senators to get help support for all of these important bills. Currently in Thailand, and this is what's insane, if you can prove that you worked the perimeter of a base, Kairat Air Force Base, Utapo,
where they would spray the vegetation
around the outside. Well, you're going in and out of that place. So if you're a security guard walking the perimeter, you can get your compensation. But if you're a guy who's just walking in through the front gate and walking to your barracks, denied.
Let's take a phone call real quick, if
Sure.
you don't mind. You're on with Richard Hurley. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. What burns me up is the fact that you have a lot of un-Americans in Congress, and they'll let the border be wide open, throw all kinds of money, fly people all around the country, et cetera, give health care, the whole 9 yards, and yet when it comes to a veteran, they're pinching pennies or they're just denying claims. To me, we've got to do something about our country. We're losing it. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, Sonny, for the call.
That's a great call. And veterans, you have to be a voting bloc. There's a Facebook page, the Camp Lejeune water contamination site on Facebook, and I'm on that site, and I see these veterans up there in Virginia who are constantly out in front doing things on the water contamination issue. But it's very important that you veterans step up and make your congressmen and senators accountable. The congressmen and senators will come home after their time in D.C. and they'll get into all the parades and around Memorial Day and July 4th, and they'll pose.
We
for
love
pictures.
the veterans.
They'll pose for pictures with veterans and say, "Yeah, we love the veterans." Then they get back to D.C. and what are they doing? And it's like pulling teeth trying to get them to do anything back in D.C. So it's important that you veterans step up. Like I said, in the Camp Lejeune Water Contamination Justice Act, here in Florida, get in touch with Senator Rubio, Senator Scott, and say, why aren't you out in front pushing that legislation to get it passed for our families who were stationed at Camp Lejeune? Make them accountable. And if they don't do it, guess what? Let's vote them out, and let's get some people in there who will take care of our veterans.
You talked about the legislation. I can't believe we're still arguing over Agent Orange. We know Agent Orange. We know what it caused. We know the deaths it caused. This is not new. We've known this since the 80s when all the revelations came out about Agent Orange and Vietnam and all. Here it is, 2022, and we're still nitpicking about Agent Orange.
Still nitpicking, and just came to the other condition that was hypothyroidism is another one that's on that list now for Agent Orange. But yeah, I mean, I'm still amazed at how many veterans, Vietnam veterans, that I'm representing who never applied for compensation, or if they did and they got denied and they just decided to heck with it, I'm not going to pursue it anymore. And you know, if there's one message that I want to get out to everybody before I leave here today is, don't give up. I remember 10 years ago, I spoke over at Oak Run to a group of veterans, and a veteran stood up and yelled, "Delay, deny, hope I die." And I was like, oh my God, is he talking about my presentation?
No, but that's what a lot of veterans think the government does.
And that's what I was told by, I asked somebody later on over a cup of coffee, and he says, no, he said, that's the veteran motto: delay my claim, deny my claim, hope I die before you have to pay my claim. And I thought that was kind of rough, but 10 years now representing veterans,
you know it's dead balls accurate.
Exactly, and it's so sad. It's so sad because, you know, I've been practicing law for 38 years. I've done a wide range of different law: criminal, civil, matrimonial, real estate. I've done a lot. There isn't a better client than the veteran. It's just amazing. I mean, they're just the best people to represent. And let's not forget those veterans, male and female, who are victims of military sexual trauma. That's another eyesore in our military. I know in the last few years, you know, they've come out and said they're going to address it, but it's still happening, and I'm still filing claims. You know, you talk about a situation we were talking about when you opened up here.
You got 300 military personnel, 25 of them are women, 275 of them are men. The women are put in a precarious position a lot of times.
Well, when we opened up, you were talking about basically proving your case. My military sexual trauma cases that go back into the 90s and early 2000s, and they're still pending, believe it or not. One of the things that the VA says when they deny the claims is, well, there's no record of the assault. Why didn't you tell somebody? Why didn't you report it? Now, you're talking about a female, especially in the 90s and 2000s. There's more women in the military today than there were back in the 90s and in the 2000s. You're talking about a woman, and here's a true story. This woman was raped under knife point by somebody within her platoon. She got on a helicopter the next day and there were 18 people in the helicopter, 16 men, herself, and one other woman. And as she told the story to me, I looked around at and she had no idea who raped her.
Right.
And I looked around at each one of these guys wondering who did it, because she knew it was one of them. And she kept her mouth shut until her life she basically had to get out of the military. Her life spiraled out of control, and it was only through constant therapy. Fortunately, you know, she's doing better. She's got 100% PTSD, but can you imagine that? You know,
it's one of those things because from a man's perspective, you can't imagine it, and it's just, it happened on college campuses. You know, I played football, and so it happened on college campuses a lot in the 80s and the 90s, where women wouldn't come forward because I'm not going to come forward because he's a football player, he's a basketball player, and it was underreported there too. So it's really a travesty that the perils women have to face in a male-dominated world like maybe athletics on a college campus or the military. It's really a tough struggle for the women.
It's a tough struggle.
Do you see? I'm brought back to 21 years ago. The World Trade Centers came down, and then the cleanup effort and the people that were exposed to all the toxins and all. You're still seeing EMT, fire, police that to this day are coming down with cancers and coming out. I have to think the same thing's going to happen to the military personnel that were walking through ruins in Afghanistan and in Iraq and everything, because they don't have the same codes that all the United States has. And the United States was building buildings that could kill you through cancerous agents. Do you think that that's going to be the next big thing we see, is the personnel that fought for 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan? Well, the cancers they may come down with?
Absolutely. There's a thing called the burn pits, and there's movement within D.C. to try and finally get the burn pits, much like Agent Orange and Camp Lejeune, and get them some legislation. But the burn pits were basically what our camps did was they burned all their waste, and these would be football fields or greater of waste being burned. I had one client, and I just got her up to 100%, and she described this situation for 7 months. This is what she did twice a week. There was no, system for the Johns. You basically went to the bathroom in a 55-gallon drum that were positioned around the base. And then once those drums filled up, her job was to go out and stir it with a huge ladle. Now, we're talking about excrement, ladies and gentlemen, that she would have to stir until
like she was stirring a stew pot.
Exactly, until it was smoothed over. And then she would take gasoline and light it on fire, and they would let it burn until it burned down into basically a cup, and then they would bury it in the soil. But you would have a dozen of these going off at the same time on the base, and all the soldiers would just be walking around
with that haze of smoke in the air.
And it's like if you're looking outside here in Ocala and you see that cloud that's over Ocala because of the storm coming through. Imagine if that was the cloud from a burn pit. And that's what these soldiers and the civilians that live there, who still live there, would have to live in. But you got to tell your congressmen and senators to ask them about that too. Why aren't we passing the burn pit legislation? Let's get that passed. Let's not wait another 20 years like we did with Camp Lejeune. Let's get our Iraqi, Afghanistan veterans service connected so that they can get the compensation that they're entitled to, because you were talking about 9/11. A lot of autoimmune issues come up when you're exposed to these various chemicals that are in the air. I know we're getting close to the end of the show.
We got about a minute.
I want to just highlight, first of all, if you need to reach me, my number is 727-612-1515. I'm also at rickhurley84 at outlook.com. My website's rkhurleylaw.com. I want to talk about the Coaching into Care program. This is a huge program. It helps veterans having difficulty transitioning to home life. Returning home can be a tough adjustment, and loved ones can help. Coaching into Care offers free coaching to help you help your veteran. The number is 1-888-823-7458. Open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Again, 1-888-823-7458. Let's also remind you about the suicide and crisis that our veterans have. There's the Veteran Crisis Line. That number is 1-800-273-8255 and press 1. Many veterans have committed suicide because they did not get the help they needed. Help them get the care they need to cope with their problems. Once again, the Veterans Crisis Line can help. It's 1-800-273-8255 and press 1.
We've been talking with Richard Hurley. He is a compensation lawyer for veterans. Richard, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We'll be back after this timeout. You're listening to Ocala Talks on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
They were going to get beat up.
That's actually good enough.
The proof that they needed a bodyguard was the fact they got beat up.
Okay. Right. So, top of the hour. Thanks for being with us. More Rick and Bubba coming up.
Rick and Bubba, Rick and Bubba.
Here's the secret to staying on.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine has Ukrainian officials wanting more sanctions that are economically destructive and punishment for civilian killings by Russian soldiers that the West condemns as war crimes. After reviewing the evidence in Bucha, French President Macron said in an interview, quote, very probably war crimes, end quote. A federal defense contractor, Matthew Martin, who admitted entering the Capitol during January 6, was found not guilty on Wednesday. The top-secret security clearance recipient is the first person acquitted Now Mr. Martin wants his job back after the not guilty verdict.
I am very thankful for the judge's verdict, and I'm hoping to get my life back together, get my job back.
The mostly partisan committee voted to hold Peter Navarro and Dan Scavino in contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with subpoenas. Those refusing to comply are calling this a political witch hunt. USA Radio News.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance to buy $1 million.
So does the need for agricultural research when it comes to chocolate. That's coming up on This Land of Ours.
Farmers, produce safety inspections are here. Prepare your farm with an on-farm readiness review. The Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services and University of Florida are partnering to provide this on-site preparation service for free. Our team of produce safety experts offer individualized support to make sure your operation meets the regulatory requirements. Contact us to help prepare your farm today. Request your free visit at www.fdacs.gov/OFRR. That's www.fdacs.gov/OFRR.
Can we bring it back, Doctor?
Yes, but we have to keep it covered, Igor.
Understood, Doctor.
And be sure to keep living roots in it throughout the year with diverse plants and rotations. And remember, do not disturb it.
Are you mad, Doctor?
No, just a little upset. I don't like to see soil treated like dirt.
Learn more about the basics and benefits of soil health. Contact your local USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service office today.
When was the last time you had a bite of chocolate? USDA researcher Dr. Alina Puig says people are wanting it more.
There is increasing global demand for chocolate, so it is increasing.
Puig is researching diseases in the cacao plant. As much as 40% of cacao's potential harvest can be destroyed because of those diseases. She says a small harvest can have effects in many parts of the ag industry, even here in the U.S., where the plant is grown commercially only in one state.
There is commercial production within the United States, but another way that it is important to the U.S. economy is that the confectionery industry is when they make chocolates, they use a lot of U.S. agricultural products like peanuts and almonds, milk and sugar. So it's a major market for U.S. agricultural commodities indirectly.
I'm Sabrina Halverson for the Southeast AgNet.
Nobody does spring planting like Rural King, and nobody beats our prices on farm and home favorites, like our own lawn and garden batteries for just $19.99, or 1 cubic foot bags of all-purpose topsoil, just $1.89 a piece, and everything looks better with fresh mulch. Get 2 cubic foot bags in cypress, red, brown, or black, just $2.49 a piece. Stock up today at ruralking.com or your neighborhood Rural King, America's farm and home store.
When it really counts, depend on the source for the latest weather updates, keeping you